What is up, guys, and welcome to a brand new video. Today we're going to attempt to do a 100% race around the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, that being 55 laps of the Marina circuit. So we're going to take to the online realm to do this, and I just thought it'd be an absolute ball ache to do this with single player AI. The option of having other people in this just completely adds to the randomness. This is on Xbox One, by the way, so almost like an entirely new platform for me. I haven't raced on Xbox One in about 4 months or so it took a little bit of getting used to. At first, my wheel didn't really feel like it had any force feedback. That was fine, but what was wrong was my wheel was at 920 degrees or something, so it was like turning an oil tanker, so that wasn't very fun. So yeah, my qualifying was a little bit compromised, but it's okay. We have a 55 lap race to make our way back through the field. So we come across the line and we actually end up getting disqualified. No, not because of a fuel issue like Charles Leclerc, but because I cut a corner at some point on my lap, which I didn't even realize that I did. So yeah. You would probably think that this would be an absolute ball ache, this would be really, really boring, but I'm going to spoil it a little bit. This is probably the most exciting Abu Dhabi race you will probably ever see in your life. At least compared to real life anyway. So let's see if we can have a good time with things, starting from P19 on the grid. It's worth mentioning that I'm going to spend a bit of this race actually getting up to speed with the wheel and how it all feels. Even though I'm using the same wheel on Xbox and on PC, it feels completely different. I just want to throw that out there. So, race strategy, it looks like it's a 3-stop. It's pretty ridiculous. We'll see if we can change that. So as we head into this race now with 5 red lights, and it is go time. The Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. A little bit of a slow getaway, which you'll find out later in the race that there's actually a bit of a problem. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Anyway, turn 1. We managed to survive. We managed to hold on to our position of P19. Let's see if we can pick our way through the field. Full damage is on, so safety cars can come out. I've turned off ghosting, so these guys better be playing nice, otherwise they could see themselves out of the race before it even truly begins. We can see Expert Almond's spinning, and then his McLaren teammate clattering into the side of him. I ran into the back of the other McLaren, and somehow I've not got any damage despite having full damage. It's not simulation. That would be a bit overkill, I think, for an online race. But it is full damage. And I somehow managed to get away with a clean front wing. I don't know how that's possible, but it is. And we find ourselves in P15 on this opening lap of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. A very close scare. Much like Sebastian Vettel in 2012 with the Brazilian Grand Prix. Had a spin, had a bit of damage, but was able to carry on in that race. That's kind of what it feels like for me as my teammate completely gets the triple chicane all wrong, and we have to kind of take the long way around there. P14. Next up is Zembrex YT, and we'll see if we can close up to him in the... Wow, that was my teammate. I don't know what the hell he was doing there. We got a corner cutting warning for that as well. Oh, I've touched the McLaren. Expert Almond. I'm so sorry. That was just a cluster of things happening. My teammate absolutely blowing me up, which he apologized for on Twitter, by the way, but I don't know how you can get it so wrong. I don't even think he braked for the hotel section. And then while I was kind of recovering, there was a McLaren which I didn't even know about, which I squeezed off. So I really apologize for that, but hopefully he can make up his way through the field, potentially with a safety car or something like that coming out. You never know what might happen. There's bound to be some crashes over the next hour and a half of this race, so I wouldn't completely rule it out of the question. But anyway, lap 2. We are in our own little space here as we've got another corner cutting warning of Racing Point is out of the race. A Renault sends me his front wing for double downforce. Don't exactly want that, so I just chuck that off to the side, and we're now up in the P12. So yeah, we're 3 laps into this race, and I've already used up 2 corner cutting warnings. I have to be a very, very good boy to the end of the Grand Prix. For 52 laps, I have to not get a single warning around this circuit, which is very hard to do by the nature of the sharp corners, easy to corner cut. My goodness, if we could get away with not getting a penalty from here, that'd be a big miracle. Team radio. Anytime now.
The fastest lap at this point in time is a 1:41.0.
Okay, so we're 1.3 seconds away from the outright pace of the race leaders. Worth mentioning, there's some pretty fast people in here. Joseph Worrell, Veloce Surprise, who is one of the fastest people on the game. Not in F1 Esports yet because of his age, but he is a mightily quick guy. We've got OMG, it's Joe in here, who is also a Split 1 AOR driver on Xbox. And we've got CRG Pinecone, who I believe is also a Split 1 AOR driver. So a lot of quick boys in here, but I'm hoping that I can still have a really good race of this today and get myself onto the podium, or dare I say it, even win this race. There will be a few people who drop out, get bored, crash out, but I'm going to use my consistency, hopefully, to get my way to the lead of this race. But meanwhile, we're fighting away with Captain Tobster here as we head into the third sector. Another thing worth mentioning as well is I have disabled setups, so everyone has the exact same baseline setup. So I wanted to keep the race nice and close and give everybody a chance to win this race. And so hopefully that is the formula that'll create a good race. You can see Zembrex got a big red X next to his name, which means he is not currently in the session, and his AI driver is carrying on the race for him. He can rejoin the race and continue if he so wishes, but I think he actually disconnected, and I think he actually rejoins later on, so yeah, at least you can do that in these lobbies. But anyway, we're in the top 10 now. We've not been the fastest car on circuit by any means, but we've been consistent enough to make some inroads on some guys ahead who are maybe battling and making mistakes here and there. It's getting us into the game. Next up is Swung Quasar 7393. He is attacking George 1997, and he's going around the outside as he heads into the third sector. Let's see if we can make the most of this. George goes in a little bit deep, but Quasar manages to go around the outside and into P7. Yeah, so at this stage, I'm just playing myself quite patiently. There's a monumental amount of time to go in this race. Quasar goes for a bit of a spin there, and he will be out of the top 10 running, you would say, with that moment. Yeah, there's just a lot of time to make up the ground. I'm almost assuming that there's going to be a safety car at some point to bail us out of this. So I'm trying to be quite consistent. I'm trying to not go all out at this stage of the Grand Prix. We've got the inside of George there. We're now in P7. I don't want to rack up a whole bunch of penalties. I don't want to make enemies make too many mistakes, because I know that if there's a safety car which bunches things up later, it could benefit me later by having less penalties, but we'll have to wait and see. You can see George going back around the outside here into the triple chicane, and he actually manages to get P7 once again, so that was a fantastic move from him there. I had no choice but to back out of the move, otherwise it would have been a crash between the two of us. George is back through, and the battle continues once again for P6 in this Grand Prix. So yeah, there's a lot of quick boys in here. It's be interesting to see if they're consistent, if they can keep it clean. We will check the race director at some point and see what the penalty count is like for some of those who are in contention for the victory. But we'll wait for a quiet moment in the race to do so. At this stage, we're just trying to kind of find our bearings in this race, get myself a bit of clear air, and find a rhythm still. I'm getting there now. Like I'm feeling pretty comfortable, but I feel like once I get onto a new set of tyres, that's when I'll really be able to get into a proper rhythm. But at the moment, we just seem to be a little bit stuck here behind George. We're going to go up the inside here, potentially into turn 1. Didn't quite have the momentum. I'm still, not quite up to speed just yet. The confidence isn't quite there. I'm not really willing to go all in for a Hail Mary overtake on lap 10 of a 55-lap race. We're just going to play in ourselves when we see an opportunity present itself. Here comes George once again around the outside into that little chicane between the two back straights. You have to leave him space on the inside. He's going to get DRS for both of these straights, unfortunately, so it's going to make life very difficult for us. This is why it's quite hard, because I don't have an OP setup to keep me ahead of this guy through lower downforce. We're running the exact same setup, and so with DRS and slipstream, it makes life very hard in terms of defending from a car behind. Speaking of, here's Joe, who is making his way through on the mediums. He started ahead of me, but he's already made a pit stop in this race. I didn't realize at the time. I was kind of wondering how the hell he ended up back here. But yeah, Joe is going to be one of the contenders for this race victory. So too with Veloce Surprise and also CRG Pinecone. And I'm hoping to get myself in the mix there somehow, whether it be through safety car, a good strategy, less penalties. I'm not too sure, but we will play ourselves in later, hopefully, as Joe goes for a bit of a move up the inside into the last corner. He escorts George wide, and that gives me the momentum that I need to get through. We're now up in a P5, and we'll hopefully follow Joe through to the leaders, some of which have already stopped quite early on in this race. We use the DRS to good effect, and I feel like we used that pretty well to pull away from George. And now we are once again in our own little bubble in this race. So even comparing myself up against Joe, who's the fastest car on circuit right now, he sets a 1 minute 40.1. We're 2.5 seconds slower than that per lap, which is a little bit worrying. We cut on to lap 13 now, and you can see the gap is nearly 5 seconds to Joe up ahead. So I'm getting the impression now that the soft tyre isn't the tyre to be on. We checked the race director. Literally everyone in front of us is on medium, so I think I'm going to pit at the end of this lap, or maybe next lap, and put on a set of mediums. The engineer was telling me at the start of the race to use softs all race for a 3-stop, but I'm pretty confident we can get away with a 2-stop, maybe even a 1-stop in this race. I'll have to wait and see, but we will switch to the mediums now and run these for the foreseeable future, because I feel like this is a better race tyre. We just don't have anything on offer really with this tyre. I feel like they were overheating slightly, which was holding me back a little bit, but the tyre wear wasn't too bad. You can see it's 30%, which if it was a 50% race, it's not a big deal. Like, you can push those to 50% and still have a decent amount of pace, but because the race is so long, you're doing so many laps on a stint, if you can have fresher tyres, you're making up more time for longer. So that's why maybe a 2 or 3 stop is probably going to be more viable in this race. But I'm just going to see how this set of tyres feels and then kind of go from there as we rejoin on the circuit here on lap 15. We're now in P9. Yellow flag up ahead. There's a McLaren which is going slowly through the first sector. Not really too sure what's going on there.
Safety car, no overtaking, reduce your pace. Keep your delta number positive as we form up. Okay, slow down. Your delta is negative, which means you are too fast. Reduce your pace.
Oh dear, that McLaren is very, very broken. And so that is the trigger of the safety car. We're now up in a P9. The race is now going to be neutralized just as we head on to a new tyre as well. Now, I'm not going to lie, I was tempted to switch on to the soft again to give myself more of an attacking run at the top 5, but I decided to just stay on the mediums for now because some of the quick boys were showing good pace on mediums, and so I'm just going to do the same, and by staying out I give myself a better chance of getting more track position because there could be a good few people in front of me who might stop under safety car, and that just gives me a better chance of negotiating this section of the race a little bit more cleanly. But now we have a chance to pause the game and not lose any time. We're going to check the penalties. Oh my god. Literally, it's Joe with a whole shed load of penalties. He won't be in contention for the victory with that amount of penalties. Veloce Surprise, the quickest guy in this lobby, he has even more penalties. So, the victory is well and truly up for grabs today in this Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. That's why I'm not quarter cutting at all at this stage of the race. There could be a safety car with 5 laps to go, which could bunch up the field, and whoever has the least amount of penalties wins the race. So that's why I was endeavouring not to go too ham in the opening laps. At this point, we still haven't corner cut a single time since lap 2, which has been somewhat of a miracle. But as I say that will probably change in the coming laps as we get ready to rejoin in this race. I don't know what's going on. A few cars are just stopping under safety car. I don't know if this is the game's method of getting the lap cars out of the way, because it just seems to be the people who aren't in this race and the AI is taking control. They're the ones that are stopping and are not doing anything. But anyway, I'm not complaining. Gives me more of a clean run at the leaders. Joseph Worrell is up next. I have no idea who's leading this race. I think Joe is up there, but we'll have to keep an eye on that. Veloce Surprise, the quickest guy in this lobby, is also down the order, so he'll be one to watch as he comes back through the field, I think on hard compound tyres. But anyway, race is resumed here on lap 19. We've got a lap car in between us and Joseph Worrell. Let's hopefully dispatch of him as quickly as possible. He runs wide through turn 3. Should give us the momentum that we need heading into this little chicane. And there we go. We are through. Someone has shortcutted that little chicane as well. I believe it's a lap car. Hopefully letting everyone through. It is a Haas. Turned in quite early there to avoid the lap car. Someone's lost a bit of front wing damage up ahead. I think it might be one of the Red Bulls. I'm not too sure. It's 4 wide down the straight. This is the battle for the lead of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. There's still 35 laps to go, lads. Let's not argue as if this is the last lap of the Grand Prix. We've got a long way to go here. There's 3 wide into the chicane. Joe has decided to back out of all of it. Probably a very smart decision. Could easily get wiped out here and your race being over in just a split second. So I'm quite happy to be where I am at the moment back here. Joe backs out of it massively. Probably the smart decision to just get out of that train. Joseph Worrell is lagging everywhere, which is making me a little nervous, as I don't want him to lag back and knock off my front wing. That would ruin my race. There's no guarantee that there'll be another safety car from here on in to the end of the race, so we do need to be quite careful and play ourselves into this race. But yeah, just taking my time here with Joseph. You can see he's not had a great run through turns 2 and 3, and now we're in a position to go up the inside into turn 4, and there we go. We're now on the podium here in this Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Could we only be a handful of laps away from being in the lead? We'll have to wait and see. Joseph going for a bit of a dive bomb there into the chicane. He's going to have DRS. I have DRS as well. I took an absolute age to open that, but we'll press on in this race if we can. Still side by side as we head into the 3rd sector. The Red Bull up ahead locks up their front tyres. Despite being in a battle, we managed to not lock up ours, and I'm pretty sure that Joseph has just completely cut the chicane in order to get a run at me, but thankfully we managed to hold on for P3, and we can continue with our battle. So, yes, there was a problem that I alluded to earlier. It was off the start. We didn't have a great start. I will show you that in a few laps time as we now get a nice run on the Red Bull, and we're now up into P2. Next up is the race leader, Hooperlicious. Let's see if we can get in the mix with him, but at the moment we're still in the crosshairs of the Red Bull. Humperdinck, he doesn't have a great run there, and looks like we're going to hold on for the moment. We don't have DRS on this second back straight, which is going to give the advantage to the Red Bull behind. We're in overtake mode, trying to hold on to this position as desperately as we can. If I can hold on to this, I should be able to pull away from the Red Bull. This seems to be the trait of the Grand Prix. There's a bit of a squeeze going on here as we're still fighting side by side. The Red Bull did not want to give up that position, but in the end, we got through, and we should be able to run away with P2 in this Grand Prix. So yeah, I just wanted to have track position as we headed into the hotel section. I turned my battery down, but that shouldn't be a problem, as I feel like I'm pretty pacey in the 3rd sector relative to these guys, and we were able to kind of establish our position that we've got at the moment. So now that we've got a quiet moment in the race, it's time to talk about the issue that I've been having. I've noticed some minor engine cuts in acceleration zones. It kind of sounds a little bit choppy, and in the first, 20 laps of the race, I really didn't think anything of it because maybe it's Xbox. Like, everything has felt just a lot different to what it has on PC. And so when we come through on this lap, just have a listen to the engine. I don't know if you exactly picked it up there, but it just sounded a little bit shaky, if you know what I mean. A little bit nervous, like there was just very, very minute cuts of the throttle happening, and I can't believe it took me this long to really do anything about it, as we have a virtual safety car at the moment. Just making sure that we don't speed under VSC, otherwise that's going to be a drive-through. It's better to give up maybe 5/10 or even a second than to give up an entire pit stop by virtue of a stop-go or a drive-through. So we give up a little bit of time there, but we're able to rejoin in the race. I actually charged up my battery and also saved a bit of fuel so that we can have another charge towards the lead. And now this is the final time where we noticed this issue. It was happening every lap at this particular corner. And so I thought, okay, let's investigate this. I have a feeling that I've got traction control on. We look at the assists, and bam, traction control is on. It's been on for the last 30 laps, and I have absolutely no idea why, because I never, ever use traction or assist. I don't know how that has managed to switch itself on, but it is, and now we can rejoin in this race. But the annoying thing is I've been used to absolutely mashing down the throttle for 30 laps of this race. I'm going to have to kind of learn on the fly how to drive without traction control. So just bear with me for the next few minutes as we kind of find our bearings again. You'll notice just subtly I'm having to fight the car a little bit as the car just gets a bit sideways, even there at high speed. 5th gear, losing the back end as I'm getting on the power just that little bit too early. But as soon as we turned off the traction control again, we found a little bit more pace automatically. So what was happening is I would be mashing down the throttle quite early, and that's just what traction control does. Like, in order to not get wheel spin, it'll cut your power a little bit. And those power cuts have been holding back my pace all race. And so now that we're getting used to no traction again, we're finding our speed once again. Joe has left the session, which is unfortunate. It seems like we're losing a lot of the quick boys. They're losing their patience, I suppose. And now we're ranging up onto the race leader, Hoopalicious, for the lead of the victory. Ignore what I said. 20 laps to go in this Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. And we're going to see if we can go for the lead potentially on this lap. It did take us a few minutes there to get used to no traction again. But I've been racing with no traction for the best part of 10 years now, so I should be pretty fine with that. We get a nice run and we go up the inside into the first chicane. We now lead the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix after 36 minutes of racing, near on an hour. We are finally there. And let's see if we can run away with this race. I can't believe the position that we're in. Given how we started off this lobby, we had to learn how to drive again with the force feedback and the way that my wheel was handling. And here we are. We find ourselves fighting for the lead. Hoopalicious has got back through for the win, by the way. But he kind of parked it on the apex in the chicane, which is a little bit naughty. I don't know if he was trying to give me a bit of front wing damage. I don't think so, but he was driving suspiciously slow through that part of the circuit. But it is game on now for the lead of this race. We're quite closely matched on pace, so this will be an interesting battle to the end. We also need to think about the strategy going forward for the final 20 laps. We can either stretch it out for the end of the race on mediums. I feel like the tyres could probably make it, but it may well be faster boxing for a set of softs to go for fastest lap and just have the grip at the end of the Grand Prix. Never know if there's going to be another safety car at this stage. You can see Hoopalicious going defensive into the middle sector. We're going to see if we can go around the outside. Turns to the inside. The next right-hander. We are through now for the lead once again. However, Hoopalicious is going to have the DRS. Unfortunately, this seems to be a recurring thing. We never have the DRS. We're always defending on the straight. Soon after getting a position, we defend to the inside as we head into the third sector. We're both going deep there. We leave space, and we are now through for the lead of this race. Hopefully, for the last time, as we still lose the back end with traction. Lap 38, and at this stage, we're just trying to build a gap a little bit. You can see the fuel situation isn't great. There are various parts of the Grand Prix where I was either managing the fuel individually or I was managing ERS. There were times, I think, in the midway point of the race where the battery was quite low, but we were fine on fuel. But now it's the opposite. We're not really great on fuel, but we've got a bit of battery in hand. So there's been a lot of things to think about in this race, a lot of things to manage, and as we get to the business end of this race, we have to think about strategy now, as Hoopalicious, just a lap or two ago, made a pit stop for soft compound tyres, and now is our chance to react and box for soft compound tyres ourselves. But I am deciding to stay out on the mediums. I feel like it might be a better strategical play to run a consistent race on mediums, bearing in mind that Hoopalicious has to overtake the Toro Rosso and the Red Bull. It might be difficult for him.
Okay, the gap behind is is 13.5 seconds. They're on old mediums. Their tyres are 12 laps old. The time last lap was a 1 minute 39.7. They have a time penalty of 18.0.
Oh my goodness, that's the car behind. That's Humperdinck with 18 seconds worth of penalties. You might notice I haven't talked about penalties for myself. I will save that for the end of the video. It'll be a bit of a surprise, but yeah, another thing worth considering is I feel like Hoopalicious' tyres might die out towards the end of the Grand Prix because my tyres were quite slow after 15 laps. They were running pretty hot as well. They weren't overly worn out. They were only at 30%, but they were pretty hot and they were pretty slow. So that's what I'm thinking in this race. That, you know, even if he does get somewhat close to me, by the time we get to the end of the Grand Prix and by the time the gaps close, I feel like he won't have anything left to really fight with. That's my assumption. But we just never quite know. We're still managing to go faster and faster and faster as the race wears on. But as we get to lap 50, those green sectors quickly started to dissipate and I wasn't running particularly fast anymore. Well, I was running pretty decently. I was running pretty close to my fastest lap all race. But relative to those guys behind me, I was pretty slow. They're in the 39s or even the 38s, so they're running about a second and a half, sometimes 2 seconds a lot faster if they're lucky. And so the gap is well and truly coming down to second and third. Hoopalicious now moves into P2 in this Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.
The gap to the car behind is 6.6 seconds. They're on old softs. Their tyres are 12 laps old. The time last lap was a 1 minute 39.3.
39.3, so he is 1.4 seconds faster than my fastest lap, and that's per lap. We're in the 41s, he's in the 39s, so you do the math, he is 2 seconds a lap faster. Now by my calculations, I was fine relative to Quasar, who was in P2. He was only a second a lap faster than me, but now Hoopalicious is in P2, and he's lapping 2 seconds faster than me, so all of a sudden, we find ourselves under a bit of pressure now in the dying laps of this Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. I've lapped my teammate for about the third time this race. These lap cars are really getting annoying now as I lost a bit of time there. We're a second down on our previous best. I was keeping within half a second prior to that, but that puts me under a little bit more pressure as we head on to the penultimate lap of this race. Now on the last lap already, as I've been quickly running through this race in the editing, we have a gap of about 2 seconds, and come the end of the race, the gap is literally going to be nothing. We're catching up now to another slow car. Hopefully, he can give me a bit of DRS on to the back straight. That would give me a little bit of respite as Hoopalicious has all of the momentum at this stage. We have been on these tyres for 40 laps. 40 laps on mediums. You compare that to real life today, and some of the F1 teams are only managing to do 40 laps on their hards. It was absolutely ridiculous. Here comes Joe. He is he's not ghosted. We have to overtake him on circuit. That is my own rules coming back to bite me there. That's cost me a bit of time. And to go with that, we don't even have DRS on the back straight, which draws Hoopalicious ever closer in this race. Heading into the third sector. This is where the advantage is for the fresher tyres. And this is where Hoopalicious is going to have so much more grip. We're getting quite nervous at this point of the Grand Prix. There's not too much life left in these tyres. The steering and the back end as you go through a corner is relatively light, so you can't really ask too much of the tyres at this point, even if I wanted to. So I'm just having to tippy-toe my way around this hotel section for the last time. Hoopalicious is now in the indicators, which means he is in attacking range. We head to the last corner. We're going to take the racing line, but Hoopalicious goes for the dive bomb. He doesn't quite pull it off, and we're going to hold on to win the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.
You are the best.
Oh! Grazie mille, grazie a tutti. Siete dei grandi. Mamma mia, mamma mia. Non ci sono parole. Grazie per tutto.
Wow, what a Grand Prix. I can't believe how close that was in the end there. Less than a second separated on circuit. I've got to say a massive congratulations to Hoopalicious for... No, he hasn't won the Grand Prix. You thought that was going to be a spoiler, but no. We have won the race on circuit. and after you factor in penalties. But Hoopalicious, he really did push me towards the end there. I thought I had it covered with the tyres, but they really weren't as fast as what I thought they were. This is the thing with a 100% race. There is so many laps, so much time to make up the difference of making extra stops in a race that it makes those 2-3 stop strategies more viable than a one stop. We did a one stop in a 100% race. We did 40 laps on a medium tyre, and we just about got it home to the end there with no penalties. As I slam my hand on the desk as a bit of a mic drop. We got 2 warnings on lap 1 and 1 on lap 2. Meaning that I didn't corner cut a single time for 53 laps to get home with no penalties. You cannot say that I am the master of corner cutting now. I am a reformed boy. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Smash your like button, subscribe, follow me on Twitter if you want to get involved in these open lobbies, and I'll see you guys for a brand new video very soon.
So this is how we end up, shades of blue and gray. I feel just like an empty bottle, my dreams are on delay. I just wanna climb on top of a hill and throw it all away, away. Take me far away before my mind spins off and I am all derailed, derailed. Just drive all the way to the rainbow's end. Just drive. How we end up. The game is set to play. Every day remains the same now. One decision we obey. I just wanna climb on top of a hill and throw it all away, away. Take me far away before my mind spins off and I am all